First Spin. Welcome to First Spin, a show where I learn how to use the parallax propeller without having any prior programming experience. And rather than do this on my own, I have enlisted the help of two experts.
I'm Whisker.
Hi,
and
Whisker.
I'm Roy.
Hi, Roy.
And we're the experts.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, experts.
Experts in the house.
What are we supposed to be the experts of?
I don't know, but
Spin,
as long as
propellers,
we can answer her questions, I think we can get away with it.
Gyroscopes and such. So we left last week on... Okay, so I forgot the question that I was going to ask.
I told you to write that down.
I know you did, but...
I was like, take a note.
I maybe I did somewhere, but
she didn't take a note as to where she left the note that she took.
Pretty much, pretty much. I have so many like show notes from things that we've done that I've just given up trying to keep track of them.
Maybe you should write a program to help you organize that.
One step at a time. Today gyroscopes, tomorrow programs that help me organize my life, perhaps.
Well, you could just use a pre-existing program like, say, Notepad or something.
Yeah, that.
Roy's such a quitter.
So
I'm not a quitter.
It's the easy way out.
All right, focus.
But this is the unfocused part of the show.
No. No, we're past that.
We're only a minute 37 in. I mean,
know we're past it.
Okay. It's over.
Right.
Being silly is so 30 seconds ago.
Whisker. Are you done?
I don't know. We'll see. Go ahead.
All right. So last week, Roy had talked about how gyroscopes have drift. And then you were about to go into some complex explanation of how you could account for gyroscopic drift.
Well, I wasn't really. I was just going to say that you typically use a accelerometer in combination with a gyroscope and some kind of filter, like, say, a Kalman filter, and then you freaked out.
Oh, yeah. That's a horrible word.
2 episodes in a row you used a bad word.
That's a bad word. Don't listen, kids.
But the thing is like, filters. You don't really need to know how the Kalman filter works to use one, because somebody already wrote code to do it, and so you can just go use it.
Yeah,
so
but
is
I don't like that
object
idea.
Exchange?
Either there or somewhere on the forums.
Okay, so...
the no Addies allowed section of the forum?
Pretty much. Well, it's a self-imposed restriction.
I see.
Because when I open up objects, for the most part, I have no idea what's going on in them. So I'll look at it.
Meticulously pick them apart and put up like 10 blog posts about them.
Right.
Although some of them are in PASM, so it's going to be difficult.
Exactly.
In fact, a lot of them are in PASM.
Exactly. So that's why I don't like it. Because now the question is,
well, you may not
objects
like
have
it.
to be in PASM to work?
If timing is very important, typically.
Oh.
For some of them, it's pretty much required to use PASM to go fast enough to accomplish what they're trying to do.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, it would be unusably slow, or so slow that it wouldn't actually function, because they require, data to be coming in at a fast enough rate.
I see. Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
There are other methods besides Kalman filters, by the way. Jason Dory on the forums has another
just say chaos
technique. He has another technique that he translated from a paper, and there's propeller code for it. That's a DCM technique, and I forget exactly what that stands for, but it's over on the forums.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when they're talking about the quadcopter stuff. So the threads over in the builders and project forums, where he's got one called QuadX. You could go look that up.
Okay.
And there's code in there for using an accelerometer and gyroscope together.
Okay, so can I ask, in terms of a gyroscope first basics, what does an accelerometer do? What does it tell you?
It tells you the acceleration in one or more axes. Typically, you'll want to use a 3-axis accelerometer, which would give you the acceleration that the device is moving in any given direction, along the 3 different axes. One key aspect of it is that it's also going to show you the acceleration down because of gravity.
Oh.
So whatever way you happen to be turning the device, if it's not moving at that moment, then the direction that it says it's moving is down. Because it will have a motion in the direction because of gravity.
I think you just broke her brain.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of complicated.
She's
so
sitting
it's
there
like, okay,
I got it. But
wait. So it's kind of like when you're drowning, you put bubbles and then you look at where the bubbles are going and then you follow them.
Okay.
Kind of. Like an accelerometer, if you're not moving it, you'll see it moving down in one direction, and you'll know that's the effect of gravity.
If you jump off a building, you will fall down.
Yes, yes, thank you.
No matter which way your body's pointed, you're going to fall down.
The direction is the direction you're falling, right?
Yes.
And because of that, the accelerometer will always have, like, if it were sitting on your desk still, it would still have if it's a 3-axis accelerometer,
it
will have an acceleration down.
I kind of feel bad for accelerometers. They spend their entire life going, ah!
But wait, what if you're not but if you're not moving it, then it should show no acceleration in any direction.
No, because there is acceleration down towards the ground because of gravity.
That's just so confusing.
Because the way it works is that it's a MEMS device, right? And there's a little dangling piece of material that is being pulled by forces, and one of the forces being applied to it is gravity downward.
Yeah.
So it will measure a slight amount of downward acceleration
at all times.
Unless you do something like move it up and then pull it down, then you'll get different readings. Right.
But your code at the very least has to account for that.
You have to factor that in.
Interesting.
But you can also use that to your advantage. Like if you know because of other sensors that certain things are not happening or certain things did happen in the recent past, then you can use the accelerometer's data to tell you more information. So like say you have a gyroscope and it tells you that you rotated some number of degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And then the accelerometer says that motion is in a certain direction that's not down the z-axis, which would be up and down, but going slightly in the x direction also.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could determine that you have rotated a certain number of degrees, and now down is in that direction. So you can determine the direction that your object is rotated and how much.
That all sounds
by
quite
combining.
Complex.
It is fairly complex, and it takes a fair bit of math and fair bit of filtering of your data and keeping track of the history of your data to help you factor in. It's one of these things where you've dived into the deep end.
Head first.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm right now just rummaging around because in my cool parallax goodies box, I guess, of the sensors and modules and such, and everything that I've seen says I should pair a accelerometer to a gyroscope module, of both of which I have. But in looking at these, they're very nice pieces. I just haven't the faintest idea of how, like...
There are a lot of simpler... Like, for an accelerometer, there's the simple things you can do with it. Like, you could just detect that something got tapped, or that it's tilted, or, there's lots of more simple cases that you can use with an accelerometer by itself.
So what raw data can you get out of it? Like, if I were to run a demo code, for instance... What would I see?
Okay. Well, by default, you would see that if it wasn't moving, and depending on the demo code, like some demo code might factor out the gravity, and so
Okay.
it would say it's not moving at all, even though there's still a little bit of the gravity
Right.
constant in there.
Right.
But like one of the simple things is if you did have one that was factoring everything out and said it wasn't moving, when you moved it, it would tell you moved it in X direction, right? Whatever direction you happen
Oh, it
to
would
move.
just tell you the direction.
Yeah, because
Oh.
that's what and how forcefully. Like if you move it quickly versus slowly, you'll get a stronger reading,
I see.
right? Because it tells you the number of G's of motion in that direction.
Interesting. So then
Right.
say I wanted to make like a wind vane, right?
A wind what?
Wind vane. You know, like a
Okay.
rooster, a little rooster
Yeah.
with north,
No,
south,
I
east, west.
just didn't hear what you said. That's
Yeah.
all.
So if I wanted to measure, say, wind speed on said wind vane, I just like attach this to it, put like an XB to it,
Well,
and then it could transmit.
A weather
not-
vane, it doesn't measure wind speed. There's something else that does that.
Well,
you're-
you know, the
You're
little.
thinking of the thing with the cups and it spins around.
Yeah. That's
they're usually attached to each other.
right.
The thing with an accelerometer is not going to do very good by itself with that because it's not going to move just because the wind is blowing on it. You would have to put it in something that's going.
I put it in a cup. I mean, okay, yeah.
If you put it
I
on
like
one of
attach it
the-
on one of the arms.
Right. Then
Right.
you would be able to read the rotations. You'd
Dude.
be able to tell that it was moving.
That'd be super cool. But
There's a lot
I'd be
easier
able to
ways
tell
to
like
do that, though.
Yeah, I was going to say
Oh.
there would be a lot easier ways to do that.
Like a hall
Then-
sensor or something.
a what?
Little magnet that goes by a sensor. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
No, but
Yeah.
that's
Because really all
not
that
as
they're doing to
exact, though.
tell the wind speed on those things is measuring how fast it's spinning. And then they have some formulas that tells them, well, if it's spinning this fast, it means the wind's going this speed.
But that
how
sounds
they
more
typically do
complicated.
that is counting the number of rotations over time.
yeah, but
Right.
that sounds more complicated than having an accelerometer that already
Well, no,
tells you.
Well, the problem is the accelerometer won't tell you that in that context because it's going to be spinning around on the end of an arm,
Yeah.
basically, in that cup.
Yeah,
And it's going to have constantly changing direction of which way it's moving.
correct.
So you're going to have to do a whole bunch of math to figure out what its orbit rotation is and how quickly it's doing that. And it's way more complicated than just measuring how many times a thing spins per second.
I guess.
You've attributed too much ability to the accelerometer for something.
It sounds like the accelerometer could do it, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Really?
As it moves through space, it's locked in place to the thing that you're attaching it to.
Yeah.
So it thinks
gonna
it's going backwards, then left, then forwards, then right,
Right.
and again and again and again.
And then you
and-
could track it. You could like have
You're nuts, lady.
wait.
You
One
could track it.
one day, you have it tracked, right? And then it would draw like on your computer program or whatever, like its track, right?
Yeah.
And then you
Well,
could have it calculate.
But it wouldn't draw its track. It's only going to tell you it got moved by this much force for this much time in this direction, right? It's not telling you I moved 3 feet. It's telling you I moved in that direction this much force right now.
So
So
what
you
would I
have to
need?
turn that into you have to turn that into information over time to say, okay, with this much force in this direction, it's moved this far.
So-
And that doesn't factor in external things that might have stopped it from actually moving that far or might have had it go farther because of coasting.
So
right.
what would I need?
What do you mean what would you need? It depends on what you want to do.
If you
What I
want to do
said.
that project, then you're not going to use the accelerometer to do it.
Oh,
You're going to use something that can detect how many rotations have happened on a shaft, right?
well, I have a compass module, a gyroscope module.
So the compass module would
I have
help
some
you with the
XEs.
with the wind direction part of it, right? Because it would tell you
Well, I
If
can
you-
think of a way
if
you might be
mounted
able
it
to
on
use
top of the rooster, it would rotate with the rooster, and then whatever direction it said it was facing,
with
that would be
the with
direction
the
wind's
compass
going.
module. Could you do something like have your rotating cup shaft thing have like a really strong magnet on the bottom of it sitting right over the compass module and strong enough to overwhelm the natural Earth's magnetic field so that you get a fake reading out of the compass module.
You could probably do that, but for a lot less work, you could just use a Hall effect sensor.
Yeah, well, that's why I suggested it originally. But
does Parallax have a Hall effect sensor?
Yes, they do.
Oh, I see.
It's just a simple little thing that to you would look like a transistor because it's
What?
a little black thing with 3 legs. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's nothing.
It just detects it powered and it detects magnetic signal
so you just attach the magnet to the shaft and it goes woo woo woo, right?
And every time the magnet goes by, you get a pulse from the Hall effect sensor, and you can count those. And over time, you would know, okay, it rotated 10 times per second, so that means the wind's going X speed.
I wonder how you.
It's useful for a lot of things.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Sorry, I'm still digging in my little box here, so my volume might fade.
I'm just saying, for a simpler thing to use with an accelerometer, you could just put it on a device and to tell like that you tilted it left or right, or shook it to the left, to the right, up or down. You could detect those kinds of things and
like a Wii controller, for example.
Yeah. So like you could tell that you shook something.
I see.
And so like you could make a little board that had some LEDs on it, and you could shake it, and then the LEDs would randomly display a different number, right? Like you shook a dice.
Oh.
Right. So you'd shake it, and it would like
that's cool.
randomly rotate and stop on a number, and then you shake it again, and it'll randomly
randomly. Let's be accurate now.
Pseudo randomly. Yes, you are correct.
Huh.
But I mean, that's the kind of thing you could do with an accelerometer that's simple, where you don't need to use any, complex math formulas or anything.
And if you're really working it, you could have it display the number in binary, so you could have some binary dice.
Okay. I don't even know how to. I think I had to work with the accelerometer then a little bit.
Yeah,
because I haven't actually gotten a chance to look at the demo code, even though I've seen demo code for the compass, the gyroscope, and XBs, and a whole bunch of the other stuff. But I have a question. What is a MEMS device?
Okay, it's micro. I forgot what. Let me look up exactly what it stands for, just so you know.
Okay. Because you were saying it, and
it's micro electromechanical system.
Electromechanical
system.
Okay.
So it's these things where, at a microscopic level inside of a chip, they've actually made a little electromechanical system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually kind of related to, in a way, like piezo material. They'll have like a little strip of piezo material and a little thing, a weight on it, and then when the weight bends, it causes piezo material to change its resistance. Right? It's kind of along those lines, but it's at this super microscopic level.
Sure.
And they can test, acceleration, and other things with it.
So,
and
are gyroscope modules also MEMS devices?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to, get an idea of other things they can make with it, but I'm pretty sure accelerometers and gyroscopes, it's like different mechanisms,
mm-hmm.
but, it's kind of beyond my understanding because I really don't understand
Expert
how to
Roy.
So like inkjets, accelerometers, gyroscopes, pressure sensors, displays like DLP, optical switching,
I sense somebody reading.
Yeah. I just,
I was like, wow, Whisker, you know quite a bit about this.
Well, I know about most of these technologies, actually, so I'm surprised how many of these I recognize, actually.
Right. But it's just the technique they use to make them. And there's a lot of competition amongst the different vendors about like how they do it for a particular gyroscope versus accelerometer, and one company thinks their method of doing it is better than the others, so you get better readings from their gyroscope, so you should buy theirs and stuff like that. So like some of the things are a little bit elusive as far as getting information about them, because they don't want to share it completely, so that their competitors don't get it.
Let me see if I can do you know much about the okay, I should first let everyone know, now that we're about 20 minutes into this episode,
so we only have a few minutes left.
we are out of manual to discuss. We have lots more manual.
It's just not all nicely arranged, and I would say that it's know enough to start doing stuff.
Right. The rest is reference, essentially. So right now we are in somewhat of a transition in terms of discussing like things that I've actually worked on. And I've been on this peripherals and sensors kick, obviously. So all of these sensors and modules and such are available from Parallax. And on our Tumblr, and in the videos that we have every Wednesday on Toymakers, I show off mostly what I've been doing with these.
Right. And so there's a lot of detail in the Tumblrs, like with your code and explaining how the sensors work and stuff like that. So people that are interested in a particular one should go search through your Tumblr posts.
Correct.
And don't you usually link to related stuff on the first spin episodes on the description? Sometimes.
Well,
yeah.
We should go back and fix it in some cases, and maybe just tell people they can go there too.
Right. So I think what we're going to do, just for ye listeners, is starting, I'm guessing, next week. I mean, it's kind of started this week, but truly starting next week, I think it might be a good idea for us to go through each of these modules that I've been working with, and we can flesh them out a bit and focus on how to use the modules, some of the code involved with the modules, because I know I actually have some questions, but I hesitate this episode from jumping too much back and forth.
Right. We should probably also maybe start with some of the simpler modules.
Yes, absolutely. The gyroscope and the gyroscope module and the accelerometer will not be the first one. So
and
they weren't my first ones.
Even XB we can get into, but those will probably also be later. I'm thinking things like the ping and the 5-position switch.
Yeah, that one's actually right next.
Some of the other more simple things that can get beginners a little more understanding of just working with an external device.
Right.
Yeah, and now that we've hit our stride with the show, and we pretty much know what we're doing, we got Addie comfortable with the fundamentals. Any of you guys are welcome to email any questions that you guys might have about how to do particular things with the propeller and spin to feedback@tymkrs.com, at tymkrs on Twitter. Let's see. You could leave a comment on First Spin, and of course, we're always in the forums at Parallax, on the Parallax forums.
Yep.
Right.
And right. So, I guess in terms of the accelerometer, I'll take a look at the demo code, and then when it comes to the accelerometer episode or episodes, then I will ask the appropriate questions. Does that sound okay for you, experts?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and if you guys have anything specific you'd like to see Addie try to do, any cool ideas you have, please suggest them.
Oh
'cause
my gosh.
it's so fun watching her get frustrated and beat her head against problems.
Like, for instance, I'm gonna ask the question, even though I should save this for the altimeter module, wherever it is in my little box of stuff. All right, so in the have you worked with the altimeter module?
Just a little tiny bit.
Little tiny bit. All right. So in the code, the the object that the main code references,
Mm-hmm.
there's this one section for, let me see. Okay. It returns, it's this one little pub section that says it returns the sea level pressure in hundredths of a millibar.
Right.
Right? Why would you want to return a pressure in hundredths of a millibar when you just want the millibar?
Because the propeller is inherently only an integer processor. So if you wanted, less than 1 or 1.5 or 1.04 millibars, you wouldn't be able to present that if you return just whole millibars. So that's why
Okay.
it's hundreds of millibars. So it's giving you the hundreds of millibars so that if it's 50 when it comes back, that's the same as 0.5 bars, right? Or millibars, sorry, instead of hundreds. It's just because of I'm pretty sure, knowing the code and the guy who wrote it, that it has to do with the precision. You want more precision in your millibar reading than just whole millibars. But because like I said, it's inherently an integer processor. There's no floating point by default unless you wanted to add in the floating point library on the side and let you work with floating point numbers so it could return 0.5 instead of something else.
Well, okay, so then in this code, you can have it do conversions. Like, it'll do conversions for you as long as you
Right.
put that in the code. So if you put off the top of my head, like pressure and then parentheses to 2 millimeters or 2 millibars or 2 root beer, whatever, it'll do the conversion for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then the answer that I get looks accurate. I guess
Okay.
I
think it's just that the base function is giving you hundreds of millibars because that's the precision that it's that it's outputting. All those conversion things are probably converting from the hundreds of millibars into something.
So I'm not actually seeing the hundreds of millibar.
But you might be if that's if you ask for the raw data, right?
Huh.
I'm not very familiar with the code you're asking about. I'm just suggesting that the reason that they would give you the results as 1/100th of a millibar is because of that. They want to give you better than 1 millibar precision, but it's a integer processor. So the way to do that
makes
is
sense.
to
Okay.
give you a fractional amount as each unit.
Okay. That makes sense because I'm looking at my code, and at every step of the code, I am inherently getting it converted. Well, I coded it, but I didn't fully realize it. I was coding the conversion from hundredths of millibars to millibars.
Right.
Without realizing it, because I thought I was just getting the raw data, but I wasn't. Does that make sense?
Right. No,
Slightly
I get it.
confusing. Slightly. Did you get that, Whisker?
Yeah, but I'm probably the only person that can understand you when you get off into your Addie talk.
So when I code and I look at the object, right, for a particular module, I look at what that section of the module gives me. Like, I see, okay, this particular section of the code of the object will give me the temperature, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, it'll give me the temperature. And then when I code my main code, like when I adjust the demo code and to try to get more data or try to clean it up or what have you, I expect obviously the same units as what I think the object should be giving me.
Right, but you have to figure out what the object is supposed to be giving you, not what you think it should give you.
Right. So that's why when I looked at the object for the altimeter module, I was very confused at why I was getting hundredths of a millibar. Because when I got the actual code, when I wrote my code and looked at the parallax serial terminal and saw what I actually got, it was millibars, not hundredths of millibars.
Right, but that's because you were coding in the conversion, like you said.
Right. Does that make sense?
Because it's built into it's built into his API.
Right.
You know, into the function calls that he has on there to give you the conversion.
Right. So for those who have discovered the secret of looking at objects and trying and like sucking out information from it, vampire style, you know, it's very important to keep track of the units and know why. Because I mean, that was the one big question. Why hundredths of a millibar? That's just silly.
Right. And you'll see that in other propeller examples when they're trying to avoid having to use the floating point libraries and whatnot. They'll return things in a fractional unit, you know, some hundredths or tenths or thousandths or something like that, just so that you get better precision than just one whole unit.
Right.
You know.
Right. Correct.
Awesome. Well, that is all the time we have for this week.
Already.
Yeah. So, you guys can find this show every week at firstspin.tv. Yes. We put it up on Tuesdays. And, we'll be back next week with more of Addie's questions and projects and such.
We'll see if we can work on the 5-position switch.
And maybe some of your questions, too.
Whose?
Send them in.
Yes, yours.
Yes,
yours.
I was like, which you are you talking about, me or Whisker?
Yeah. Please do send us in some questions. We'd really like to have some.
Yes, please.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.